What's up guys, Josh here, and today we're going to be talking about the Mayflower ARC. So this is a pretty interesting device, and I know there's a lot of you who already know a lot about this, but I think there's also a lot of people watching who don't know anything about it. So for this first part, I'm just going to be going over what it does and some other options that you might have depending on what you need. What is this and what does it do? It's a DAC, it's an amplifier, and it's sort of an audio interface for microphones. And kind of the purpose that I have been using this for and would recommend it for is kind of the audiophile gamer. So real quick, some inputs and outputs. So you have a power on and volume knob, which clicks on like that. You have a DSP adjustment switch on the left side, a 3.5mm microphone input, and a 3.5mm headphone output on the front facing. Now, if we turn this device around from left to right, we have left and right RCA pre-outs, a mode switch, which has USB, PS, and optical. And a quick note on the PS, that actually stands for PlayStation. This is kind of designed to also be used with a PlayStation. You have a microphone output, and what that microphone output is basically you could plug in a pair of headphones in the back and a microphone in the front and be able to monitor what's happening on the microphone through the pair of headphones out of the mic out in the back. You also have a USB input, a gain high and low switch, a optical input, and your power input. And a real quick note on that power input, this is the power brick for it. Pretty skinny cable, and it's not that big. So if you already have a packed power strip, you're gonna wanna find some extra space for this. So physically, that's pretty much it. And there's a lot of different usages and ways that you can use this. The USB will plug both into your PC, your Mac, or your PlayStation. That's how you would connect it. Your optical is obviously going to be a universal optical, and you can plug that into anything that has optical output. Now, the question becomes, since this is $250, why would you buy this over something like a Focusrite Scarlett? And the truth about this device versus that device is that they're kind of built for two different purposes. The Focusrite is more of a quote unquote professional kind of audio interface. So it's got things like XLR. I'm not sure if the base model has what's called phantom power for non-powered microphones, but it has options like that. And the headphone output is really low power, and to speak candidly, it doesn't sound all that great. This doesn't have that. This is more of a kind of flipped version where the focus is primarily going to be the sound quality of the headphones. So there's another scenario that I kind of want to talk a little bit about, which is having like a dedicated microphone like this Blue Yeti. Just for an example, it's like, I think $100 something. Pretty cheap. If you already have a really good amplifier that's just an amplifier, this may be something worth picking up instead of an all new device, but you are going to be dealing with two different devices at that point, and it's kind of not the point of this device. This is something that you would get to just be an all-in-one that does everything and you don't have to worry about anything. That's kind of the point of this. So I'm gonna get to some sound demos with a couple different types of microphones, and I'm gonna talk about the sound in just a second. But real quick, I actually wanna talk about a couple of systems and kind of budget gaming audiophile systems that I think could easily be built around this device. So my goal here was to come in at less than $500 total. And honestly, one of the best setups I think you can get for the money is this. So what's going on here, you have a relatively efficient but very, very high quality headphone, which is going to be the Mastrop HD58X Jubilee. And this microphone right here is a mod mic. And you'll notice that both of these are 3.5mm. So you plug the headphone into the headphone output, obviously, and the microphone into the microphone output. And then you plug this into USB and you're able to communicate with your friends while you're gaming. Now this microphone, it's good enough to communicate. It's clear enough to be articulate and communicate clearly with the rest of your friends, but I wouldn't use it for any sort of voiceover work or anything of that nature. It's strictly a microphone that is just straight up convenient more than anything. But something that you can do if you have a microphone that's compatible with it is actually hook up a little bit nicer microphones, like the microphone, the Deity VMic D3 Pro, which I'm using to record this video right now, has the 3.5mm output. All right, there's two other headphones that I'm gonna really recommend here. One is going to be the Hyphaman Mastrop 4XX, another Mastrop headphone, and this also makes a great partner with the mod mic. So this as a whole system is also going to get you great sound. And then there's also a little bit more streamlined systems like this. Now, this is technically the 558. It's a Sennheiser headphone that's no longer manufactured, but they still have like the 598s and I think the 579s. But the more important thing is that they actually make kind of an all-in-one plug for that headphone that works really, really well with the ARC. So it's a proprietary like twist and plug that fits the 558, but it has a microphone attached, and on the end it has the 3.5 input and the 3.5 output, so that you can use this kind of an all-in-one with only one cable. I'll put a link in the description down below. And then the final use case that you could potentially do with this, if you have something like a, what is it, the Koss KSC75X, I think that has a microphone. They're like 20 something dollars, I think 20 or 30. but it comes with a 4-pin connector. So what you can do is you can actually buy a splitter that will split the 4-pin connector into both a microphone output and a headphone input. And that works very well with both of these. I'll put a link to that down below as well. And that will also work really well. Okay, so how does this thing actually sound? Because that's one of the more important things, right? The audiophile part. So it's 1 watt into 32 ohms and about 365 milliwatts into 150 ohms. So for the money, no, it's not the pound for pound king in terms of power output, but there's a lot of functionality that you're also paying for when you buy this. And out of the box with no DSP, this thing actually sounds really, really good. It has a fair amount of dynamics. I felt like the bass response was very, very clean. And speaking of that bass response real quick, there is a mode switch on here for a DSP adjustment that is to kind of enhance gaming, so to speak. And what this ends up doing is, I'm not sure if it's messing with the treble that much, but it's definitely messing with the bass response. And this can potentially be a good thing, but it really depends on the frequency response of your specific headphones. So these 5.8Xs, for example, didn't really benefit in terms of gaming capability. It's made to be a gaming adjustment, but I didn't really feel like it ever gave me an advantage. Whereas something that doesn't have a lot of bass, because this affects it quite a bit. It's not a massive boost, but it's definitely noticeable. For something that doesn't have a lot of bass, sometimes that extra tangibility or those deep kind of footsteps, just depending on how the game is designed, can actually really legitimately benefit you in a competitive environment. All right, but back to the sound. So the headphone output is, as long as you can power your headphones, I think it's more than enough considering all that this thing can do. I'd be lying to you if I said that for 250 bucks it's the best amplifier you can get. I already said that, it's not, but again, you're paying for an all-in-one. So you're gonna have to take a couple sacrifices here and there to pay for overall functionality and convenience. Now that being said, I don't want to scare you away. If you're currently working with like a phone or a motherboard for your audio, this is going to be a massive step up in terms of sound quality. So I think the last thing to cover here is a couple microphone tests. So here those are.
All right, what's up guys? So this is a test of the Mod Mic sound plugged straight into the ARC over here. I'm plugging this into Audacity, recording about 80%. I'm gonna bump it up real quick here because it looks a little bit low. I don't know, let's take it up to 95%. So this is gonna be 95% just recording straight out of here into the ARC amp. And then we'll switch over to the mic I use for recording this, which is the D-Mic D3 Pro.
And it's not super clear on the microphone front. So as an audio interface, I definitely don't recommend it. Like if you're using it to do voiceover work, no. All right, and then this is going to be plugged into the camera. It's just straight 3.5 out of here and 3.5 into my Sony camera. A lot more clear. And I think this brings me into one of the only complaints that I do have about this is that as far as the microphone input, I don't have to tell you this, but it doesn't sound very good. There's a lot of audio interfaces that sound a whole lot better in terms of the microphone input, but don't have the quality of the headphone output. And that headphone output, the quality of that is really going to be the focus of this device and where I think you should be putting the majority of your attention. And this brings me into my final thoughts. So like I discussed earlier, there's a couple different ways that you can go about getting both a headphone output and a microphone input. And I'd say that if you're starting from scratch, where you maybe only have a headphone or you don't have anything at all, I think this is a great option. I'd say that if you already have a few of your devices, like a really good amplifier, or if you already have a dedicated microphone, then getting something like this, it really doesn't make sense because you don't end up using the functionality that you end up paying for. But if you're going to use the functionality of it, if you play a lot of online games and you want to be able to communicate better with your teammates, because trust me, it matters. And this device ends up being tailor-made for the gaming audiophile. So that's going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment if you have any questions down below. There's a lot to go over on this device. I'm almost positive that I missed something, so I'm sure you guys will let me in the comments. So definitely peruse down there to see more information and what people think. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, my name's Josh, signing off.